So if you've ever wondered if you could fund real estate purchases with cash value life insurance, you're in luck, because that's what we're talking about today. Hey, it's Matt Decker, Leverage Wealth Management. I have one of my business partners here, Craig Guffey, with us. And Craig, you brought this to the table because it's something that we've been hearing a lot of, and I'll just kind of let you lay the groundwork and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So, I never thought I'd say this about us, but in a way, we are kind of trend spotters, okay? And so what I mean by that is that we're up to about 20 discovery calls every single week. And that just means we're talking to 20 different people that have an IUL. They've either seen one or they've heard about it, and they're coming to us for a second opinion or questions. We have 20 of these each and every week. And so we start to pick up on some things that pop up out of nowhere and that are new or abnormal. And so over the last few weeks, we've seen one particular topic do that. And to me, that generally means one thing, is that this topic has gone viral on Instagram or TikTok. And so while we're not on those platforms, we kind of serve as a trend spotter because we end up getting the questions pretty consistently. So over the last few weeks, we've had a lot of calls about using IULs for real estate. Typically, Matt, we kind of shoot from the hip here, but we've talked about this. So I know you have a couple cases prepared, but just kind of lay the foundation. What we're getting a lot of questions around when it comes to using IULs for real estate is, number one, there's this expectation of setting up an IUL, putting premium in, and then getting the cash out very quickly, year one, year two. So that's something I'd love for you to talk about. And then the second is that there's many of the people coming and asking these questions are doing so underneath the guise of a pretty low premium amount. And so I know today we're going to look at maybe two different scenarios of how to think about IULs in real estate, and just wanted to bring that to the table. Hopefully it's helpful to everybody out there.
Perfect. Let's start with the low premium, maybe the wrong way to do things, or as you put it, something's gone viral. We don't know what that is because we're not on those channels. But let's start with maybe kind of the conversation that you have been hearing and what's wrong about that. So what I've got here on the iPad is an index universal life insurance policy. It's structured for maximum cash and income, and it's a relatively low premium amount, $500 a month, $6,000 a year. And one of the first things that we've been hearing that we can just go ahead and dispel right away for anybody who's watching, occasionally we will hear people say, or maybe they're asking, but they're saying something along the lines of, hey, I heard that I could put money into this life insurance thing and I could borrow against my death benefit. And, I saw a $250,000 policy and I'd like to purchase some real estate.
Right.
That's similar to what we've been hearing. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is not a $250,000 policy. This $6,000 premium is about a $100,000 policy. But we'll just go ahead and come right out and say it. No, you can't borrow against your death benefit if the cash is not also there to be borrowed against. I think that's pretty clear. So in this example, we've had people come in and say, yeah, I want to start this $100,000 policy and I'd like to take, $50,000 of my death benefit out to go purchase some real estate or to use it as a down payment. And you can absolutely borrow $50,000 from a cash value life insurance policy, but you can't borrow $50,000 if you don't have at least $50,000 in cash.
Right.
And so when we look at these policies, and we have to kind of be the bearer of bad news in a lot of ways, although it's not bad news, I suppose it's more we have to set the record straight.
Right. Yeah.
In this example, the cash value is $800. And so, no, you wouldn't be able to use this policy in year one to purchase any kind of real estate because there's nothing here to borrow against, right, because you haven't built the policy up. And so that's just the first thing. If you're hearing that you can borrow against your death benefit to purchase real estate, you absolutely can, but you have to understand that it's not free money. You have to actually have the money in cash there to be used as collateral. And so using this as an example, let's say that you wanted that $50,000 loan amount. You absolutely could use this policy to take a $50,000 loan for a down payment, purchase some real estate. It's just that, you're not going to be able to do that until maybe in these years, Here, we're talking years 10, what did I highlight there? 10 through 12.
Right.
So you're going to have to pay that $6,000 annual premium for probably at least 11 years. We've got $78,000 in cash. You take a $50,000 loan, you're still going to have some cash there left over as a buffer in case, you don't get any performance or you skip a premium. You don't just totally blow the policy up in one fell swoop. And so I guess, Craig, to clarify or answer your question, yeah, absolutely. You want to use a life insurance policy to fund some real estate purchases? Let's go.
Yeah. Maybe one thing you just mentioned, I think that would be helpful just to reiterate, is the risks involved in taking out cash. Let's use this example you just had. Could you expound on, if you had $78,000, you took $50,000 out for the down payment, you said you wanted to leave a buffer. Just talk a little bit about that, because I think that's important for people to understand.
Yeah, you're never going to want to take all of your cash out. Because if you take all your cash out, you're actually going to be taxed on the gain on the contract. Now, that's a technical conversation. Don't just kind of take that to the bank. You need to talk to someone about that if you're concerned about that. But I'm just giving you food for thought. The reason that we would say be conservative and, you want 50 out, you're not going to take it here in year 9 when there's only $57,000 in cash, because you're encroaching too much on your loan to value ratio. Right. Essentially is kind of what we're talking about there. You got to be real careful in how much you take. I would say, just a personal kind of rule of thumb, if you're using this to leverage up for real estate, I'd never go above 75% loan to value. Yep. And I'd have a plan to pay it back. Okay. So let's just set the stage. That's generic advice. If you're trying to do this, you actually need to talk to somebody about this and get, real detailed answers. But that's at least a good rule of thumb. So to kind of come full circle, can you purchase real estate with a $500 a month policy? Absolutely. 100% you could do that in 10 to 13 years.
Right.
Not in year 1 or 2. All right. What was the next thing that we were going to be chatting about?
Yeah. So, we get a lot of folks who look like this scenario, right? It's a little bit, we're not, as you put it, we're not the bearers of bad news. We just need to set the record straight that their expectations have been improperly set.
That's right.
There's truth to what they're saying. They just, the speed or the time frame or the amount, those expectations are unrealistic. But there are situations where it would be very realistic. And I think you have a case that you could show us of, this is what it would look like at these certain levels of premium, this kind of structure, where you could make this work.
Thanks for that reminder, Craig. So I've got a second policy here teed up for that type of person who's got significant resources and they got skin in the game. I mean, they're putting significant financial resources towards this real estate idea. What would it look like if we funneled that money into a cash value life insurance policy first? So we've got a $48,000 yearly premium. Quite a bit different from, the $500 a month strategy. That $48,000 premium is generating $1 million death benefit. You'll notice, though, that still in the first year, $8,000 in cash, and that's largely due to surrender charges. We have $43,000 that's earning interest, but because there are heavy surrender charges on these policies in the first couple of years, you don't have unfettered access to all that money. It's earning interest. You don't necessarily have access to it. One point of clarification, because I know that there's going to be haters in the comments, you can absolutely add riders to these policies where you waive the surrender charges. But I'm just going to tell you, we don't recommend that because those riders make your policy more expensive for the life of the contract. Disclosure is now out of the way. Let's continue. So in this particular example, we set this up to actually start the real estate leverage in year 4. And you can see that happening. So we pay 4 years of premiums in at $48,000 a year. And in the 4th year, we're going to take out a $100,000 loan and we're going to go buy some real estate. Now, whether that $100,000 is a down payment or whether that $100,000 is a cash purchase of a distressed property, it doesn't really matter. What's important here, though, is that we have 2 years to pay that loan back. Let me rephrase. This is an unstructured loan. You can pay it back whenever you want, but the plan that we set up for this individual is I'm going to pay it back in 2 years or within 2 years. Perfect. And so we've accommodated that. you'll see that the loan is paid back with some interest in year 5. The $48,000 continues to go in every single year, but what we're doing here is we're using this as a store of our cash, and we're leveraging it for continual, consistent real estate purchases. And I believe what we did here is basically we're taking out about 60 to 70% of the cash value each time we do this little transaction. So we take a policy loan of about 60 to 70% of the value. Our 100 comes out. We've got $52,000 in cash left over. So we're keeping a reservoir there. We're in no danger of lapsing the policy. We pay that money back, and then we do the exact same thing again 4 years later, except now we're loaning out $267 because the policy has grown. We're leveraging the same 60 to 70%. That's a down payment. That's a cash purchase. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's a multifamily unit down payment. We pay that back in 2 years. Now, whether you're paying it back with a cash out refi or other funds doesn't matter. And we could structure this any type of way. We could structure this with a 4-year payback. It's totally customizable. But the point is this: as we continue to leverage these purchases and paybacks, purchase, payback, purchase, payback, purchase, payback, you'll notice that our accumulation value, that value we talked about at the very beginning of this discussion, the amount of money earning interest is always increasing. A better way to say that, the more accurate way to say that would be, it is unaffected by the loan.
Right.
The accumulation value is unaffected by the loan, which means what? It means your money's growing in 2 places at once. And so we've got about, never do math live, but I think it's about $4 million. Let's try to do some math. Oh my gosh, here we go. All right, 100, 267, 367 plus 5 is 800 plus 7 is 1.5, 3, $4.2 million, let's call it.
Good job,
That's some down and dirty math. All right, so we've leveraged $4.2 million of loans to purchase real estate that have then been paid back, which means you've got some kind of leveraged up real estate portfolio where your skin in the game was $4.2 million. So whether those were all 20% down payments and that $4 million is now, a $20 million worth of real estate portfolio, fine. Whether you paid cash for all that and you got $4.2 million in real estate, fine. It doesn't matter. You've got a book of business here of real estate that you've just purchased. Now, since this policy is continually growing, we can also use this policy for tax-free income. So you can use it to purchase your real estate, you can have a payback schedule, and you can use this for tax-free income. And I want to show you exactly what that looks like. So this is the same policy. We've just basically turned the page and we are now 26 years down the road. You can see the $48,000 premium still being paid. If you wanted to continue leveraging this for real estate purchases, you can do it until your heart's content. But we decided to stop. That's a relatively time-consuming, work-intensive game that you're playing with real estate. So we stopped leveraging it for real estate, and this policy is going to generate $305,000 a year tax-free for life with no market risk. And you've got between a $4.2 and $20 million book of real estate that's also performing off of the $1.3 million that you funded this policy with. And that is the way to use life insurance to invest in real estate. How did I do, Craig?
That's great. Yeah. So just as we're wrapping things up, I one of the things that I love about the IUL policy is the creativity that can exist inside there, as long as you're playing by the rules set in the game, which you just illustrated great in a scenario where this works. But we also want to make sure that everybody out there doing their second bit of research, looking for that second opinion. One, we want to congratulate you because you're doing the right thing. You should never, even if we are the first ones you talk to, you should always be open to second opinions. And if you're getting your information from TikTok or Instagram, I'm just grateful that you took the time to seek second opinions, because there are many times IUL is the absolute worst idea to use for real estate if you're not playing by the rules. But we've seen a use case for that today, but we've also seen where it can work. And that's what makes these products so unique And thanks for walking us through that, Matt.
Yeah, where should they go if they would like a second opinion from us, Craig?
Yeah, go to leveragewm.com. Look at the top navigation. You'll see a link for book a meeting. Click that, give us your information, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Hey, we'd love to chat with you soon. Until next time, take care.